What's going on, guys? So Hinsanor here, and today I will share with you my 5 most important tips into cutting body fat. We'll start off with the most important: calories in versus calories out. Now, as simple as it may be, or as much as you hear it, sometimes it's hard to really understand the full concept of it. So here's how it is. Calories in is what you put in the mouth, what you eat, right? What you digest, what you consume on a day-to-day basis. Calories out is what you use to expend it. Now, that is comprised of multiple things. It could be from your workouts, your non-exercise energy expenditure, just your basic body metabolism, etc. So, it is really important to understand that having a calories in and calories out concept is what really conducts the overall body fat loss. Now, knowing this basic framework of calories in versus calories out, now you will understand how to get into a caloric deficit, which is basically having more calories out than you have in. When you have that, alright, that means that your body will need more calories to function. Therefore, it taps onto your fat stores as the required energy it needs. So, let's give you a really quick example. Let's say I consume 2,000 calories, and on a day-to-day basis, for my workouts, my normal metabolism, my normal activities, I burn off 2,500 calories. Now, there's gonna be a 500 calorie surplus in my calories out. So how does my body compensate for it, knowing that I only ate 2,000 calories worth of energy? It gets it from your fat stores, right? It doesn't get it from anywhere else. It gets it from your stored fat, your stored glucose, your stored glycogen, all of those things. That is why it is the most important to tapping for your body's energy or your body's stored energy, and that is why it is the most important for losing fat. So you might be wondering, how? How do I get into a caloric deficit? Do I have to do countless hours of cardio? So yes and no. No, because you can first work on your calories in. Now, you can just lessen the overall amount of food you consume. You can try to adjust the macros in your calories. I'll talk about that later because there's a lot of misconceptions on that. But basically, if you eat less food than you usually do and you work out the same amount of time, so if your calories out are the same and your calories in have always been the same, by decreasing the calories in and maintaining your calories out, you create a caloric deficit. Now, on the side of the cardio, so how do you do that? You can do that by eating the same amount of calories you have and increase your calories out by adding forms of cardio. Example, if you used to do 20 minutes of walking every day, you can instead make it 30 minutes of walking every day. Or if you used to not do cardio at all, you can have 3 to 4 days additional of 20 to 30 minutes treadmill, bicycle, stationary cycling. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's something that gets you moving more than what you used to, you are creating a higher calories out than calories in, and thus burning off more body fat. Alright, so that's a really simple way to put everything, but I hope you can try to understand that concept as it is the framework for your whole fat loss journey. And you have to keep it in mind and always keep it in practice. Number 2 in the fat loss tip, let's talk about macronutrients. Now, it is not as important as calories in and calories out, that's why it's number 2. But you have to understand that the body, alright, stores fat, as in the macronutrient fat, as fat easier than it does protein and carbs. For example, if you eat 2,000 calories worth of fat versus, obviously you won't do that, that's crazy unhealthy. So let's say you eat 2,000 calories worth of fat versus eating 2,000 calories worth of protein and carbs. It is most likely that your body is more comfortable storing the fat as fat since it's just fat. Alright? I hope you understand that. Now, in the concept of... Hello? So using that example of the 2,000 calories of carbs and protein, alright? Keep in mind, a fat molecule is obviously similar to a fat molecule that we store in our body. Now, a carbohydrate and protein molecule is a lot different from a fat molecule. Therefore, our body has to work into converting the protein and carb into a fat molecule before it gets stored as body fat. And this process, all right, it requires energy. So it requires additional calories, additional energy to work into that process. So keep that in mind, that if you're comparing 2,000 calories worth of fat versus 2,000 calories worth of protein and carbs, the 2,000 calories worth of protein and carbs takes more energy to metabolize and store in your body versus the 2,000 calories of fat and stored as fat. So keep in mind as well that you still need to have a balanced diet, right? This is why dietitians, fitness people, fitness personnel, everyone who promotes a healthy and fit life really wants you to get into a balanced diet, right? Ketogenesis, yes, that's a thing. Fasting, yeah, it can help. But what's more important is really keeping your calories in check and having a balanced meal. So enough micronutrients, enough energy, and the like. Next, we have tip number 3. Something super important as well. Having realistic expectations, alright? So this is super important because a lot of people think, alright, from looking at online videos of, oh, it took this guy 1 year, oh, it took this guy 3 months, oh wow, he got shredded in 4 months, alright? You're not gonna look like Jeff Side after 3 months. I promise you that. No matter what your physique is right now, unless you already look like him. Okay? So keep in mind, you have to have a realistic expectation in mind. Regardless if you're a natural athlete or an athlete that uses performance-enhancing drugs, alright, to each their own, have a realistic expectation in mind. Now, I will just speak in the natural point of view because that is the only one I am fully aware of. Alright? Don't look at transformations of athletes who take performance-enhancing drugs and expect you can do that naturally. It is not. But, alright, if you look at all the top professional natural bodybuilders, I'll take Philippines for an example. If you look at physiques like Mark Floro, Arnold Salas, Grant Teng, right? These natural bodybuilders, if you look at how long they've trained each year working on improving their muscle size, it takes years to even add on 2 to 3 to 5 pounds of muscle. Let alone imagine how much you work compared to how much they work. Do you think you can do that in 3 months? Of course not. So you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic into expecting how your body will look like after the transformation or during your fat loss journey. Now, take note, alright, 3 to 4 months is a lot of time or time that you can use to really shred off body fat. Now, if you already have a bulked up physique, like I'll show you an example of my transformation right here. If you already have a bulked up physique, so let's say you're high body fat, you're 30% body fat, 35% body fat, but you know under that, you've been working out for almost 7 years, right? All you need is like 5 months to 1 year, and you can cut that body fat off and keep it down, and keep it off for a long time. And you can expect that really nice looking transformation before and after, because you already have all that muscle hiding underneath it, alright? Most problem for some people who want to engage in the fat loss journey, they don't even have a fitness background, they don't even have years of training, they just started, and after 3 months, they expect to look like a seasoned bodybuilder with a really low amount of body fat and really high amounts of muscle. So please remember to set realistic expectations. Expect that yes, you can indeed lose fat, and actually, you can build muscle while losing fat. Alright, so take that misconception of, I need to eat so much to get bigger and then lose all the weight. Alright, it's different per person. You can still expect to lose a lot of fat, or you can expect to build up little muscles. I'm just saying that do not expect an incredibly drastic change in just 3 months versus a lifelong journey or years into the journey. Otherwise, you'll get demotivated and you'll stop. So always have realistic goals in your mind. I do suggest, this is what I preach to myself and my clients, hitting a little goal at a time. Let's say after 1 month, I just want to lose 2 pounds. Why? Alright, that's kind of small. Because I want the client or I want myself to know that, let's say we'll have something along the way. We'll have some ups, we'll have some downs. At the end of the month, I just want to make sure that 2 pounds at least is lost. And if I lose 4 pounds, or if my client loses 4 pounds, what the heck? That's amazing, right? And you'll feel even better than if you expected to lose 20 pounds and you only lost 10 pounds. You'll be like, damn, I'm 10 pounds behind. And you'll get demotivated. So have realistic expectations and set goals realistically. Alright? Take into account your lifestyle, the things you do, so that at the end of it, you can keep your motivation going forever. Forever. Tip number 4, let's talk about body types. So this is really a common misconception. Alright, I'm sure you've heard ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. Ectomorph, skinny dude, hard to gain muscles, hard to gain fat. Mesomorph, God bless genetics, easy to gain muscle, hard to store fat. Endomorph, hard man, he gains weight so fast, he can gain muscle pretty fast, but it's hard for him to cut fat. But take note that no one is 100% endomorph, 100% ectomorph, 100% mesomorph. Everyone is a mix of those body types. Next, you have to take note about the amount of fat cells people have. Take someone like me, right? If I were to eat 3,000 calories or 4,000 calories and gain a 1,000 calorie surplus, my body is super comfortable at storing fat. If I eat that, I could easily bloat up and I could look obese again. So yes, if you've lived your life mostly being fat or having a lot of fat cells, having a high body fat percentage, it will be harder for you to keep the weight off. Alright? But I will get into that. I have tip number 5 for that. And that is why as well, alright, you may wonder how come some people are skinny for so long, they eat 3,000 calories, they're not gaining weight. But here you are, you're eating 3,000 calories, you're working out more, but you're still getting really fat. Right? The amount of fat cells per person varies. And you will store fat easier. And that is a fact you just have to accept. That is why a weight loss journey or a fat loss journey is your own. Do not compare yourself with others, and the only competition is yourself. When you have realistic expectations for it, and you work on it little by little, you can achieve it. Trust me. So what is the importance of these body types? Now you know, if you are more of an ectomorph, so you're not 100% ectomorph, right? No one is 100% a certain body type. If you are 100% ectomorph, you know that if your transformation is to get muscles, you know you have to work harder than someone who's a mesomorph and an endomorph. Because, alright, your body has a hard time using those calories, alright, to build up muscle, since your metabolism, your overall calorie expenditure, how your body metabolizes these calories into energy is really fast. So you have to set your goals into trying to increase more calories if your goal is to gain weight or gain muscle. Now, if you're an endomorph, you have to acknowledge your weakness in cutting fat, right? Acknowledge it. Don't compare yourself that this guy can eat 3,000 calories, how come I can't? And then you feel bad and you don't want to continue. Acknowledge it. For someone my size, alright? I'm 6'1", I'm around 180 to 190 pounds. I can only eat around 2,100, 2,500 calories. Now I'm looking at all these YouTubers, some are like 5'7", 5'10", and they can eat almost like 3,500 to 4,000 calories per day. Why? Because I acknowledge I have a slow metabolism. I acknowledge that my body is very comfortable in storing body fat. And I will work with what I have. I will not get demotivated by it. I will just do what I need to do. So keep that in mind. If you're a mesomorph, alright, if you're more of a mesomorph, then good for you. Find what you want to do. You want to lose weight? Alright, cut your calories. You want to gain muscle? Try to increase your calories or increase your workload. Increase your workload. It's more important than increasing your calories if you want to gain muscle. Okay? Or better yet, just do both and you have the most optimal way to grow muscle. Last, tip number 5. Alright? Make lifestyle changes. So this is one thing that is not preached enough. The first time I lost weight, alright, if you can see in my transformation video, I cut down a lot of fat, but I lost a lot of muscles in the process. Why? Because my coach at the time, I will not say his name, He told me to eat boiled sweet potato and boiled chicken breast for 3 months to 5 months straight. No salt, just pepper. Can you imagine how gross that is? Alright, it's some people can do it. Kudos to you guys. I respect you for that. But it's not sustainable. Now, what happened? When that competition took place, I felt like crap. Alright? My mind was just, I just want to lose. And I just want to eat and eat. And what happened? I ate and ate. Few years later, I was back to being 235 pounds. Really fat. Yeah, I had muscle under it, but I was really fat again. My body fat percentage was around 35%. Because I didn't make lifestyle changes. When I worked to cut down, alright, I did some crash course diet. It worked, but it made me go back to my old self. And whenever I tried, right, when I was that body fat, and I tried and tried again to cut down, I even tried joining other natural competitions, fitness pageants, I could never get to that, that really lean face or the current transformation I have now. I could never reach there because every time I reached a certain body fat percentage, my body would tell me, hey, you're getting back into that sweet potato, boiled chicken breast mindset. Right? Let's eat some more. And I could never shed off those extra amounts of fat. But now, alright, this time around, I made lifestyle changes. How? I started doing cardio every single day instead of only during cutting season. Right? Improved health, improves calories burned per day, and improves your fitness. That is awesome, right? So why did I not do cardio every day? Because I thought that you could always just crash course diet into losing body fat. But actually, you can maintain your physique, you can maintain your fat loss if you just have lifestyle changes. So these lifestyle changes could be very simple. It could be from, let's say you're used to eating 2 cups of rice, alright, per meal. As Filipinos, we love eating white rice. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that 2 cups of rice could be around 500 calories. Now, if you eat just 1 cup of rice, you could have around 200 to 250 calories, right? Now, think about that. 3 meals a day, you went from 2 cups of rice to 1 cup of rice. You're not depriving yourself. 1 cup of rice is still a lot of rice. It's still a lot of carbs. But you cut down your calories by almost 600 in total just from that one little change. Now, if you span that out to a week, you tell me how much calories you're losing, right? That is how easy it is. When you make these little lifestyle changes, you can make it permanent. You can keep your calories out higher than your calories in all the time. Or rather, lose body fat, then have a point where you can maintain at a low body fat by doing these little changes. Another example, alright? Maybe not so popular, but imagine if you're used to drinking Coke once or twice a week, alright? Now, if you change that Coke into Diet Coke, you cut almost 150 to 200 calories. Now, just those 2 days, right? That means per week you lost 400 calories with just that little change. You didn't even restrict yourself, you just changed it. These little lifestyle choices, alright, they make a huge difference and they will help you maintain your physique permanently. So this is what I was saying. To the people here, people watching who were once really fat or have a really hard time losing body fat, acknowledge it, accept it. It is your body, you can't do anything about it. The best you can do is work with what you have, make yourself fitter, make yourself healthier. Now we have to work extra hard into keeping that body fat off, into keeping fitter, and to keeping healthier. But that is not an excuse, okay? You can do it, you can achieve it. You just have to make these little lifestyle choices, apply the calories in, calories out, realistic time frame for things, keep yourself motivated, and your dream body is just a few years away. Or months away, depends on how you look right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out my first video about my transformation if you want to. If you don't, it's fine. I will try to post a video every week. Sometimes it's going to be like this, a little bit educational, a little bit of tips. But sometimes it's just going to be some random stuff. So